I'm Tony Sklar with bnetTV. We are here at the Broadband World Forum in Amsterdam for 2012. I'm speaking with Actelis' Mr. David Dunphy. How are you today, sir?
Very good, thank you.
Excellent. All the way over from North America. How are you enjoying Amsterdam?
Very well.
Very well. Excellent. Tell us a little bit about Actelis and what you're doing here at Broadband World Forum this year.
Well, Actelis is a vendor that specializes in broadband solutions that utilize copper assets. And we do Ethernet first mile over copper technology. We also do broadband amplification technologies, and we span SHDSL, VDSL, backwards compatibility with ADSL, and various broadband amplification.
So really, if I want to break it down for the viewer who most likely a good percentage of them at home still have existing DSL or ADSL or at least some sense of broadband that's coming in via copper and are looking towards maybe that upgrade to get their connected home into play, what would you tell them?
Well, Actelis is all about increasing the rate that you can get from your service provider. It's about giving more reach. So basically, it's helping the underserved and the unserved broadband customer get the kind of bandwidth that they need for triple play services in the case of the residential market. But also we provide services or help the service provider provide services for the business customer as well.
I just want to touch on one note. Do you think that, are you feeling from your customers a sigh of relief because they don't have to redeploy, trench new fiber, put new assets into the ecosystem, that the CapEx cost could be tremendous in a lot of rural areas?
Absolutely. I mean, you have to remember that fiber, it's a great technology, but it was basically purposed for going after high density areas, aggregating a lot of traffic in dense downtowns, going after large enterprises. From a commercial standpoint, fiber does not make sense for going after small, medium enterprise that's very distributed around a metro area, and it's not necessarily very cost optimized for going after residential customers, particularly as you get out into less dense neighborhoods and people who are kind of on the outlying fringe of the city.
Tell me, David, what can you offer to the medium and small, and maybe even starting up into that large size enterprise business that's not centered in a metropolitan area?
Well, the great thing about our technology is that what we do is we help bring more bandwidth out where it's required. And today, from an enterprise perspective, historically, large enterprises used most of the broadband bandwidth. That's no longer the case, because what's happening is the small and medium enterprise, they're gaining tremendous advantages from being able to leverage IT resources that are not centralized within their own company, to use a number of cloud services, and really to gain strategic advantage and operational efficiency that they never could before by using the network. But to do that, they need a lot of bandwidth. And unfortunately, historically, where are the office buildings built that a lot of these small and medium customers are located in isn't necessarily downtown, it's not necessarily on a fiber ring. So getting enough bandwidth to them is critical, and today what they're really looking for are Ethernet services. And that gives them more bandwidth, it gives them more flexibility, and what they really are looking for is kind of an N by 10 meg service. Well, a lot of these customers today are more or less stranded. They're getting very much less in terms of bandwidth, or they're getting it over T1s, N by T1s. T1s are not very scalable. They are very expensive by comparison, and they're really a limiting factor. So what we're doing is we're helping operators bring out the kind of broadband bandwidths, 10, 20, 30 meg, to a lot of these small and medium business customers, and we can go quite a bit higher for future scalability. We can go into the hundreds of meg. But we're giving them what they need today, future scalability, and giving the operator not only the ability to provide broadband service at the rates that these customers want, but also to enable them to offer new cloud services either themselves or through partners of theirs. And this opens up whole new revenue streams for the operator as well as for the small and medium enterprise. So it's a win-win for these two entities, and what it really does is it provides a whole new future for the small and medium enterprise in how they operate and use the network as a strategic asset within their business.
Well, anything the operator and the carrier can do to decrease the amount of capex that inevitably they're going to roll out is going to help the situation. I want to move on to a question here that, if you can answer, what is some of the magic behind the curtain that gives you that competitive advantage?
Yeah, I mean, what it comes down to is addressable market opportunity for the operator, which is also what kind of service you can get, as the end customer, is all about the kind of distance that you can, propagate that bandwidth over, and the kind of performance that you get. And what we do at Actelis is basically leverage the installed base asset of copper, so we don't require either a huge capital investment in fiber. We also have a great time to market advantage for the operator, and we don't require that they go in and require that a building owner let them rip up a parking lot for 6 months to bring in bandwidth, right? That's a huge deal. But how do we get out to more customers over greater distance and offer more bandwidth, which gives more service opportunity? We do that with basically market-leading layer 1 technology. We have some very sophisticated algorithms that took years to develop. It's basically dynamic crosstalk mitigation. We have branded it, we call it DRB, or dynamic rate boost. But what it does is it looks at the sources of crosstalk, which historically have been the limiting factor for copper, identifies which are the main and most important sources in real time, and cancels them in real time, in much the same way that, say, a set of Bose headphones might cancel out noise when you're on an airplane, right? So by doing that, it extends both the distance capabilities and the amount of bandwidth that you can offer in a way that was never possible just a few years ago.
One more question. This is going to be the last one, I promise, because I could talk about this forever. But if you could just touch on the onloading and offloading for small cells, if your system is being utilized, is the system transparent enough for policy and control for the carrier to be monitored?
I mean, what we do basically is we provide very high performance bandwidth out to that small cell, and we do it more cost effectively than anybody else. So from that perspective, certainly we support the kind of latency and jitter that's required for synchronization and at exacting rates such as are required by 4G, by LTE. So that's not a problem whatsoever. And so we're more or less transparent from that perspective. Now, with respect to our own transport, yes, we absolutely fit into the management paradigm, right? So we have EMS, we have northbound links, and we can be managed effectively as part of a solution, both with respect to policy performance. So we really focus on providing the kind of service that allows the operator to offer whatever they need to, over that bandwidth reliably.
David, thank you very much for taking the opportunity to speak with us here today at Broadband. I hope we get a chance for an update again in the future.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I've been speaking with Mr. David Dunphy of Actelis here at Broadband World Forum in Amsterdam 2012. I am Tony Sklar with bnetTV.